whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
I'm here. Kim McAllister is here, and good morning. Thank you for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show. I apologize. We were commiserating as mothers of freshman high school daughters.
Oh, we had to compare the experience. We're having the same experience.
Yes, we are. And I think that everybody knows. Maybe we'll touch on it. I don't want to get too into it because both of our daughters are going through it. But high school is tough. It's a tough time of life. And so I apologize for a bit of a delay. Me and Kim just needed to vent for 5 seconds. Thanks for joining us, though. We are going to talk about Maui. President Biden visited Maui yesterday. And I don't know about you, but I'm touched by the fact that, obviously he's out there. I do feel like he is giving them a lot of resources, but he was met with a number of protesters. And I mean, if you look at the video, you could probably count them on like your hands and toes. At least that's the image that it looked like to me. But we'll get into it and what do people need? And again, this whole debate of what does Maui specifically need? Not all the islands, but specifically Maui. Because it's hard.
Did you see the moment where President Biden was speaking and he leaned down to pet one of the search and rescue dogs?
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
Oh my goodness. And he's being criticized for that. And they're saying, oh, look, he's petting some random dog. No, he's petting the search and rescue dog. It was a not as advertised moment that people are just, I know. But people.
It's politics, right? It's like he can't do anything right. And we'll get into the protest because there was this New York Post article that was just vilifying the president. And they quoted a former lawmaker from Hawaii. And so I went to go find that criticism on Twitter. And that legislator deleted it and explained where it came from, because there's a news report of Biden when the Maui fires had been happening, where he's quoted as saying no comment. And he never actually said that. Someone was reading his lips and says, oh, he said something like no comment. Now, you could be upset that maybe you wanted to hear more from the president. But again, I really think that if you're criticizing President Biden, who released federal disaster funds nearly immediately, then it's just your politics showing regarding it. I mean, there's nothing that he can say or do or whatever that's going to make you happy. So we'll touch a little bit on that. But again, I'll read you what that former legislator from Hawaii was saying. And it's just, in my opinion, not fair. There is some, encouraging news as far as the survivors of the fire and where they're going. Apparently, most of them have moved out of the shelters. I think by yesterday, most of them should have been in a hotel or not an actual, kind of rough shelter. So we'll touch on that as well. I didn't get to this story also yesterday, Kim, and that was the sentencing of a actually, I don't know how, a teenager. I think she's like 18 though. Maybe she was 17. Anyways, she killed her boyfriend and his best friend by driving straight into a brick wall. It's a crazy story. It's really tragic. But the reason why I bring it up is it's what her dad or the son's dad said, the guy that died, the 20-year-old that died in the car, said before she was sentenced. And I don't know if I would be able to say the same thing. And so we'll get into that a little bit of, when it's your kid that's either been hurt or tragically killed, how forgiving can you actually be? You sent me this story, Kim, of a Georgia sheriff has pleaded guilty to sexual battery. He assaulted a TV judge, Judge Hatchett. I don't know how many of you watch judge shows. My mom loves judge shows. Now, she doesn't really watch them that much anymore, I don't think. But yeah, so it's the reaction that this judge had. She's an older woman, right? What happened to her? And just this feeling when I was reading the article of was it that big of a deal? And how she realized, no, it was, and how emotional she actually became over it. So hopefully we'll have time to get into that story. And then I do want to touch, of course, on the change regarding Bay Area bridge tolls. They were supposed to go into effect soon.
Come on.
Not gonna happen. But what does that mean for all our public transportation? Because I'm coming from this angle. If people aren't riding public transportation, then your public transportation system isn't set up in a way that people want to ride it. You know what people ride? They ride the New York subway. You want to know why people ride the New York subway? Because it's quicker. Right? People ride the subway because it's quicker. I don't ride public transit because it's longer.
Oh, way longer.
Plain and simple. I don't want to take a form of transportation that's going to take me longer to get somewhere. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'll just hop in my car and deal with the traffic. So, we'll touch on that. And if any of you do take public transportation, let me know in the comments, which public transportation system do you use? And do you use it kind of just to be, helping get cars off the road? Or is it actually saving you some friggin' time? So we have that and so much more coming up. We also have a big week. We have a bunch of interviews planned this week. And so I'll tease some of those towards the end of the show. But let's get some business out of the way, my friends. Click that thumbs up button. Show your support for the show. YouTube loves it when you do that. And so you just have to do it once. You could do it during the live broadcast. You could do it if you're watching this on replay. Just click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you're subscribed. Subscribe to the show. Click that bell so you don't miss one episode of the Nikki Medoro Show. The Super Chat is also live. It's a way for you to donate to us during the show. You can donate a Super Chat, a Super Sticker, a Super Thanks. If you donate a comment, we will read your comment if you're donating during the live portion of the show. And so you can contribute that way as well. And then please consider becoming a monthly Patreon subscriber. I try and provide, Kim and myself, we try to be here every single day for you guys, but this is our job, and we want to continue to do it for you. And that requires our monthly Patreon subscribers. And it's 100% crowdfunded, this show. We hate, kind of begging for the money, but we need you guys to possibly consider subscribing or bumping up your subscription if at all possible. And so just go to the NikkiMedoroShow.com. There's tons of links there. There's not only the Patreon link, there's our PayPal link with our email address to the show, which is simple to remember, the NikkiMedoroShow@gmail.com. And then, of course, there's the merch shop, the NikkiMedoroShop.com. And can I throw one more thing in because it's happening?
Please.
Maureen Langan is going to be on America's Got Talent tonight.
Oh, it's so exciting.
I know. You need to download the app. So there's an AGT app. You can vote up to 10 times. And so she's a former KGO host. She's a comedian. She just opened for Jay Leno, apparently, at a comedy show. And so she is just knocking it out of the ballpark. And it would be fun to continue to see her on America's Got Talent. So it's tonight. I forget the time. I don't want to give the time because I don't want it to be wrong. Check your local listings and vote for Maureen. You can vote for her up to 10 times, I think, if you download the app. So make sure you do that because that's happening tonight as well. Okay, so Kim, I want you to do some headlines. Oh, and Harry, starting us off late to the party. How dare my boss let me Thank you, Harry. Harry is usually one of the first to donate to our super chat. And so thank you, Harry, so very much. I just saw that come through. And so, thank you, Harry. Be like Harry, donate to our super chat. We really do appreciate it. All right, Kim's going to do some headlines. We'll get into the Maui response, President Biden's visit yesterday, and the criticism surrounding it. Is it justified in your opinion, or is it just, again, the politics showing? We did have a former president that went to Puerto Rico and threw paper towels at people. Was that politics?
God, remember that?
Remember that?
Jesus, that was horrible.
Exactly. So, different responses, different sorts of things, but it could also just be, again, our politics showing that if it's this person that we don't like, we're going to criticize them. But if it's this person that we do like, they can do no wrong. And so you guys let me know in the comments what you think about that. But first, let's take a look at some headlines.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Oh, yeah. Here it is again. I mean,
you have to have a folder of all these pictures, right?
I have some good ones. I do. I really do. But former President Trump says he will travel to Atlanta to surrender on Thursday. He was charged last week, of course, with racketeering in connection to the alleged efforts to overturn the state's 2020 election results. The first co-defendant in the case has turned himself in this morning. That is former Trump attorney John Eastman, a co-defendant in the Georgia election case. Eastman is one of the former president's 18 co-defendants, and again, surrendered to authorities this morning.
Some people were saying that Trump, well, I mean, a lot of people say that Trump is a moron, but he's being a total moron because he's not paying the legal fees of the co-conspirators. And like, dude, if you don't help these people out, they could flip on you, right? Like they can help the other side. He doesn't even pay his own legal bills. He's sure as hell not going to pay anybody else's. So good
I
luck.
mean, don't you think not only could they flip, but they're more likely to be angry? Like,
Yeah.
here, I did this for you. I, supported you. Here's Eastman. He also turned himself in today. I was there for you. And what have you done for me, Mr. Billionaire? Right? And now I have all these legal bills. I mean, I think a lot of these guys are pretty well off, but you see, even Rudy Giuliani had to go to Mar-a-Lago hat in hand saying, listen, because I've defended you, I'm having sanctions, I'm being sued, I'm all these
He's going to lose his
legal
law
bills.
license. I mean,
Yeah.
he might have to use a public defender. Rudy's broke. Yeah, I don't think Rudy's up a creek, especially as far as his reputation. And the thing that boggles my mind is so many people, this is a stain. You might be in this like MAGA bubble, but believe me, if I'm getting a lawyer, I am not choosing Rudy Giuliani, who is completely, I was listening to this thing about him the other day. I think it was yesterday, actually. God, how he has fallen from, being mayor of New York and then America's mayor, quote unquote, after 9/11. And now being brought up on RICO charges that he used as mayor to take down the mob. Like, I don't know if he was eating weird food or what the hell happened to Rudy Giuliani, but geez, man, you hitched your ride to the wrong horse.
Oh, and how? Meanwhile, in Maui, President Biden is back in the United States on the mainland after touring the wildfire damage in Hawaii, a United state, just to throw that out there. Air Force One landed at the Reno Tahoe International Airport overnight. The Bidens are expected to vacation in the area for about a week and then head back to Washington, D.C. But here they are.
Yeah.
Touring the damage in Maui, surveying, I should say, not touring, and talking to officials. The president promised that no matter what it takes and how long it takes, he will support the people of Maui and he will make this right.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Tropical Storm Harold made landfall in South Texas. First we had Hillary, now we got Harold. Okay, here he comes. Tropical Storm Harold making landfall overnight in Texas, bringing heavy rain, strong winds, and a chance for coastal flooding. More than 1 million people in that area under tropical storm warnings. Forecasters say, though, Harold's not going to last long, that he'll weaken as he moves inland past Padre Island. The Biden administration rolling out its income-driven student loan repayment program. The plan caps interest accrual, thank goodness, and it lowers the monthly payment amount for many borrowers as payments are set to resume this fall for the first time since the pandemic. The move comes after the president's plan to cancel student debt for millions of Americans was struck down by the Supreme Court earlier this year. Indiana's near total ban on abortion is now in effect. The Indiana Supreme Court announcing Monday it was denying a rehearing on the new abortion restrictions. Abortion is now banned except to prevent the mother's death in cases of rape or incest up to 10 weeks into pregnancy, or cases of fatal fetal anomalies up to 20 weeks into the pregnancy. Boy, you'd really have to jump through a bunch of hoops. Doctors are scared. Already many doctors leaving the state because they say they can't practice medicine like this.
No, I mean, why should the government be involved in a personal health care decision? I don't understand, especially it's coming from a political party that wants less government. Isn't that what the Republicans always say? We believe in smaller government. What is more big government than being in my doctor's office? I just don't understand.
I don't understand either. I'll never understand, and I feel sad for the women of Indiana
Mm.
and America that this is what it's come to. Remember Sha'Carri Richardson?
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's officially now the fastest woman in the world. The American sprinter won the world title in the women's 100 meters Monday in Budapest. In 2021, she was suspended for a month after testing positive for marijuana at the U.S. Olympic trials. Had a bit of a setback there, but it looks like she's not letting it hold her down forever. And here she is now officially the fastest woman in the world.
Yeah.
There is, lastly, a new survey indicating 1 in 3 Americans have a tattoo.
I would believe that. Yeah.
Those doing the artwork say that the growing popularity is driven in part by social media. Artist Lorraine Hendricks has been doing tattoos for 2 decades. She says it's no longer just young men who come in wanting the artwork. They're working more with women these days. The survey done by Pew Research found the most common reason to get a tattoo is to remember someone or something.
Well, obviously.
It's not just like, you get drunk and you get a Playboy
A road runner on you or
right?
something like that. Yeah.
Or the Marine flag or what symbol, whatever. It's not that anymore. It's someone has passed away, and maybe every time you see a hummingbird, you think of them, and so
Right.
something like that. I know women that are even kind of middle-aged, older, 50s, 60s that go in to get their first tattoo. Never would have thought they were a tattoo person. And, then they go in and get a little hibiscus on their arm. I don't have a
Yeah.
tattoo, but 1 in 3 people do. You do.
Well, I do. I have a couple
Yeah.
tattoos. My
Yeah.
husband has tattoos. I don't have a problem with tattoos. The what can happen, and I've heard this happen many times, is they become a bit addictive. So you get one
Yeah.
tattoo and then you get another tattoo, and then all of a sudden you have all these little tattoos everywhere, or big tattoos. My brother's completely tatted up. Yeah, I just don't think that tattoos hold the same taboo reputation as they used
Mhm.
to anymore. I mean, it used to be like bikers and military people and things like that used to get tattoos, right? Now
Yeah.
everybody gets it. I'm not everybody, but it's not like, oh my God, you got a tattoo. It's like, okay, no biggie.
Well, 1 in 3 people say they got their ink to improve their appearance.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is definitely something that I would hope you got it because you like how it looks on you. So yeah, that makes sense. Tattoos are
think
very expensive though. John's asking how much does it cost? I would
Oh.
say even for a little tiny one, and I'm not accounting for inflation, I'd say at least a couple $100, 100 to a couple $100.
Mm.
It
I
takes
I've seen a lot of stories, and it's kind of, I think, lovely that if someone has a scar, or they've had a horrible surgery, and they've
Mhm.
been left with a scar that's very visible, maybe they had to have marks made for chemotherapy, whatever it is, that they can somehow find healing in getting a tattoo to cover up or even enhance those marks, to kind of take
Yeah.
ownership of the scars on their body, and so that's nice.
Yeah, I know somebody that's having a mastectomy. And so,
Yeah.
they're going to have artificial breasts put in, but because of it, they won't have nipples. And so they're going to have a beautiful tattoo to kind of put something there. So they're not, I don't know. I make the
They
joke like
can
Barbie or something,
they can tattoo nipples that look pretty realistic.
I know, but at least this
Mhm.
person doesn't want that. She'd
Yeah.
rather have something like a beautiful type of tattoo instead of. I think I'd be a little weirded out. It's kind of like if it's not really a nipple, I don't want to tattoo a nipple, right? I'd rather have something prettier,
I don't
like a
know. I
happy
mean,
face, like happy you came. I don't know. I'm
if
just
it
kidding.
makes you feel like you look in the mirror and your body looks like you remember it looking, or like, better, then tattoo whatever you want there. Go
Oh,
get it.
I meant a mastectomy. Did I say vasectomy, Cheryl? I meant a
Oh,
mastectomy.
mastectomy. A
Yeah, I
whole
know.
different
Not a
body part.
vasectomy, totally different thing. Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying if you want like actual nipples right there, but I just
Mhm.
kind of feel like I would want a tattoo of something beautiful. And not saying nipples aren't beautiful, but just I don't know if I'd want a nipple tattoo because you don't like the nipple tattoo, and that's just kind of weird. I don't know. Will it be the same? Do you have enough pictures of your nipple to make it look like the nipple that you had before? I don't know. I feel like I'm
Mm.
saying nipple too much. Go ahead.
That's not a new development on the Nikki Medoro show. We've
Do I say nipple a lot?
didn't
Okay.
we have a nipple episode at one point? Remember
We were
they
talking
had
about
that,
cleavage, I think. Remember,
yeah,
we
and
were
they
talking
they
about
played
cleavage.
that promo over and over again with like nipple, 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 nip. Do you have a tattoo that you would want to get, or you would already have it if you?
Oh, no. Yeah, there's definitely a tattoo I want to get because I have an unfinished tattoo on my side. So I'd really love to finish it, but I have to
Right.
redo the whole entire freaking thing. And so I'd love to get it. There's a tattoo artist actually in San Francisco that I follow on social media. Love his work so much. He does like really great, realistic looking tattoos. Not that I want a face or anything like that, but just the details really good. But again, it's in San Francisco and it's gonna take at least a couple of sessions to get it done. So it just becomes this not only expensive and painful, but time
Mhm.
consuming thing that I just don't have the time to do. So maybe sometime in the future, I'll ever get my tattoo finished. I don't
I
know.
don't think there's anything in the world that I maybe I'm too indecisive. It's the Gemini in me that
Mhm.
um that I could find something that I would love forever, and that would be the thing that I would never get tired of looking at it on myself. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like I just
You have to
maybe
put them in places in which you don't see them. Like my first tattoo is
yeah.
on my back. I never get sick of it because I never see it.
I mean, I think, well, maybe a little hibiscus or a little wave or something.
Yeah, that'd be really cute,
But then I'm
right?
like, I just see it every day. And like, also, it would make me feel like I had a mark on me that I couldn't wash off. I don't know. I don't
You
know.
could do it. You know what you could do, which a lot of people do, and I know you're gonna. They tattoo the inside of their lip, like on the
Oh,
bottom.
for what reason?
Well, one, because you don't see it all the time, right? And
Ew.
two, I also hear that it fades very quickly. Like sometimes people, like if you get it right there because of how the mouth is like the fastest healing organ or whatever. I've heard that it doesn't stay forever.
Well, then
Also,
in order to see it, you have to stand in the mirror yanking your lip down around your chin. What? I mean, that just seems silly.
and then
Who
there's
wants
another
that?
one that when they tattoo, like if they tattoo words on their chest, they do it backwards so that when they look in the mirror, they can see it the correct way. Because if you don't, then every time you look at it, it's backwards.
But then everybody else in the world looking at you like, what the hell does that say?
But who's it for? Is it for them or is it for you?
Well, you going around the world presenting yourself with all the words backwards. I don't know. Seems a
Just
little
having me
awkward.
with it. I know exactly. I don't have any words. I don't have names. I don't do any of that. No, 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 no. No faces. I would never tattoo like somebody's face on me because I'd feel like it would look awful and then they wouldn't like it. I don't do
Yeah.
names because I know my name. I know my children's name and my husband's name. I'm not going to do mom or anything like that. So pictures, that's it for me. That's it.
My daughter went to a birthday party recently and they had henna there. And they were doing henna designs on each other's hands.
Right.
And and the henna has now lasted for more than a month.
Oh, but it's faded, obviously.
It's a little lighter, but it's there.
Oh, really? So the
I
whole
mean,
design is still there.
it's there. And I'm like, that's
That's some
lasting
good henna. That's
longer for
really good
than
henna.
I thought it would. But yeah, so interesting. And I think it gave her like, oh, having a tattoo would be cool. And I'm like, uh-oh. I don't
Mm.
necessarily, might
Where was the
wanna
henna placed?
on her hand and wrist.
Yeah, no, not see, these are my rules. And I tell my kids, I'm like, look, I'm not going to tell you not to get a tattoo because that's what my dad did to me and my brother. And the instant we were 18, we got tattoos, right? So you
Oh
don't do
my
that.
god. Yeah.
But I tell my kids, I'm like, look, just be smart about where you place the tattoo because I don't care what world or what year it is. People will judge you for tattoos, whether they
Yeah.
like tattoos or not. Look, I don't have any problem with a tattoo. You come into my place of business and there's tattoos all over your face. I'm going to think twice because you might, turn off some other customers. Now that's not bad, but I would do it a little bit higher for a man. Make it so if you wear a shirt, it doesn't poke through. You know what I mean? My brother did that. His ends actually like so he can roll up his sleeves and you can't even see his tattoos.
Mhm.
My two best friends, they have matching tattoos. They have been after me for years to get the tattoo, but I say no because they have it right on their wrist. And for me, I'm like, I adore you guys. I don't need a tattoo to be like part of the cool club. Like, like we've been friends for years, but I'm not getting a tattoo on my wrist. I don't want to look at a tattoo every time I look down at my hand. I just don't. But when we went, all three of us down to Southern California, I did a henna tattoo of the exact same tattoo that they have. And we took a picture of it. I'm like, there you go. And then it faded away and I was happy. So
That's what I want to do. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that, do you think that tattoos, instead of having to hide them now, are becoming more socially acceptable? If 1 in 3 people, as this survey
right.
says, has a tattoo, do we have to hide them as much anymore? I mean,
That I don't like.
so
That
there are
picture I don't like.
there are people, yeah, the facial tattoo gets me every time. There
No.
are, and also in the fingers. There are people that have there are people that feel about tattoos like it's trashy, or
It's ugly. That right there is not attractive to me. And it's not for me. If she likes it, knock herself out. I don't like it. That's all I'm saying. I don't
but
like
if
it.
you're see, I look at her and I think she's cluttered up her beautiful face. Like you can never look at her without seeing these marks all over her face. But
Yeah.
that's kind of how I feel about the whole body. You can never wash away those marks. At some point it starts just looking like dirty skin. But
Yeah,
I
and
don't
that's what
know.
that's how my dad views it. He's like, "Why would you want to mark your body? Why would you want to mark your body?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't see it as a mark. I see it as, it's life, right?"
Right, right.
So similar to I have had the scar on my knee from when I fell off my bike when I was 7
Mhm.
years old, right? So it's I look at that and I know where I was and what I was doing. And so I kind of see the tattoos are similar in that way. I know what I was doing, where my mind was at when I got them,
Right, right.
but I don't need to have that under my eyelid. You know what I mean? Like,
Ew,
I don't
yeah.
need that. I don't need, she looks, again, she's a beautiful woman, right? I don't think the tattoos make her any less beautiful. She
I
looks like she
do.
has a beard. I think that the tattoo, I mean, she has a girl on her neck. Yeah, Liz is like, she's ruined her pretty face. And it's not coming off. What is that signature above her eyebrow? It doesn't even, you can't even tell what it is.
And
So,
maybe it means something to her, but I do feel I
yeah,
would,
I made
and
bad choices.
yeah, exactly. And but the thing is, I don't want to be a judgy B word, but I look at her and I'm a judgy B word. I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? Unless you didn't like the way you looked, you had some type of image issue and you needed mental health care, but instead you went and did this to yourself. And so you're a cray cray. That's what I look at her and I think, what were you thinking? And
Yeah.
it's so judgmental because maybe this is something that was healthy for her and that makes her feel beautiful, and who am I to say, right?
Right. I mean, but again, I think we are human beings who make instant judgments every single day in every single situation, right? Snap judgments are made constantly. Am I safe? Do I like this person? All sorts of things. And so if she's walking in, now look, if she is an influencer or a model and she's made money off of these tattoos because it's given her name recognition, and I'm just making this up. Okay. But what happens when that job ends? Like,
Mhm.
just think long term. I'm not knocking tattoos. I just urge my children to really think about where you're going to put them, because this neck face tattoo BS, exactly. There's Post Malone. And he's actually not a bad looking dude, but it's weird
Now
to
he
have all
is.
this crap on your face. Now, again, you have to live with that. I don't have to live with that. I could still be friends with you. I could still care for you. I could still date you if, I was single and into Post Malone. But I feel like at some point you would want to just take it off, because you have to look at your face every single day. And that's just, I don't know. It's quite the decision to make. And I do think that there's some sort of, not mental illness, but you're going through some sort of situation in which you feel that's a good idea.
My mom
Oh my God.
has, in her way, made all of the grandkids promise that
Uh-uh.
they will never get a tattoo or they will be cut from her will.
Oh wow.
Now, I will tell you, they're not really getting anything anyway. There's really not much to offer. I mean, it's not like
That's
there's a big
hilarious.
will going on. And Julia knows. She's like, "What's she going to give me anyway?" Like, but they've all promised. She goes, "I promised that I would never do it, but if someday after she passes and I want to get a tattoo, I won't feel held or bound by that deal,
Right.
that I'm going to do what makes me happy. But I won't do it because I know it would make her so, so unhappy right now. I can wait. So I was like, oh, well, I mean, she's 14. She's not getting anything, including the nose ring she's requested to get.
Oh yeah.
Um,
No, my
I don't,
daughter's obsessed with fake nose rings,
yeah,
and that bull, the one that this girl on the screen has,
yeah.
right in the septum or whatever. I think I'm like, either you look like a bull, or it looks like you have a booger hanging out of your nose. And I'm like,
So,
it looks like
yeah.
crap. And so
But
I was like, you can wear
people
those
love
around the
it.
house, but you can't wear them to school.
And I find myself with my you kind of sometimes think about things how you're raised, right? And so I realized that I sound like an old woman with my thoughts on tattoos. And when I look at what I'm saying, it's what my mom is saying. Right?
Ah,
So my ideas are coming from her, and my ideas of what's beautiful, and my ideas of, it being classless or tacky or skin trash, that all comes from my mom. And
yeah.
so, I try to be less judgy about it, to feel like everyone has their own idea of beauty, and my idea may not be their idea. And so I'm trying not to feel like that about people. I don't know. I
Well,
don't.
I mean,
I
you just got to
try. I'm
tell
trying to
yourself,
grow.
well, when your kid turns 18, they're gonna have the choice whether you like it or not. Eric makes a point about the piercings, though. He says the nice thing about piercings is they're easy to remove. That's true. Oh my God, look at that checkerboard face. Oh my goodness. Looks like his nose is in two different directions. That's crazy. Now, this screams to me mental illness. This screams
Yeah.
to me
Yeah.
you don't want to be yourself. You don't like what you look like. You're trying to hide yourself. But as far as piercings, Eric, I know so many people. I don't know if it's still popular to get your tongue pierced. I know so many people that have teeth problems because the ball from their tongue piercing was damaging their teeth. And so they have chips, they have dings, they have so many problems because of that damn ball in their mouth, which again, I would never do. But more power to you if you wanted to, I guess.
You know what else I don't care for the way it looks. It kind of just grosses me out. And boy, we got off on this tangent. Is the ear stretching?
Oh yeah, with the gauges and everything. I knew some friends. I had some friends that did that. Not me. I have multiple piercings. I have two in each ear, and I used to do the top of the ear piercing. That one hurts
Hmm.
like a son of a bitch. But no, I have zero desire to stretch my earlobes. And if you stretch them too much, then then they'll hang down when you don't have the gauges in them, and then you have to get like your earlobe cut off if you want to fix it. But it's a look. Would you rather have a tattoo on the face or the gauges in the ear?
Okay. So I look at it as, what could I get rid of in the future if I change my mind?
Right.
Tattoos, you could have them laser removed, but there's always kind of a scar there,
Yes, no,
an
you're gonna
area where
see
you
that.
can
Yeah.
see it. This whole gauge thing, God, you could stick your finger right through that little ear hole she's
Just
got.
like a lot through that hole.
Yeah, ew. Okay, yes. What? Yeah. So anyway, but I feel like if you decided you didn't want that gauge in your ear, that you could take it out and you could have reconstructive ear surgery and it might look
Yes.
normal again. So
Yeah.
I guess in the scheme of things, if I'm looking at what could be repaired later on when I have a change of heart, I'm going with the ear thing.
Oh, really? Okay. I think that ear gauges, that's really too big for my liking. I would never do it. But I don't mind, I don't know, maybe an inch big gauge or something like that. I don't again, I feel like because we're in America, we look at this with this kind of puritanical kind of idea. When you go to other countries, other societies, other cultures, this is just normal, right? I mean, you tattoo your body, you do sorts of kind of the body modification, but us Americans, we don't even have some sort of ritual or something to go along with it. So it just seems weird to us. See,
Yeah.
that looks like a beautiful woman with way too much crap going on her face and ears,
I
like
I think to myself, did she look in the mirror and not appreciate herself? Did she see something I didn't see? did she have a distorted view of
Yes.
her,
Body dysmorphia, probably.
or did she look in the mirror and say, you know what? I could really enhance my cheekbones. I could really, I don't know, I could really be an individual here and present myself in to the world in such a unique way that no one will ever forget me.
Yeah.
I don't
You
know.
won't forget her. You know what I mean? So
But I think tattoos like tribal tattoos, when you go to Hawaii or you see the people of the Maori people that have tattoos that are
yeah,
part of their culture,
exactly.
I find beauty in that. So I don't know. I don't know. The whole
Exactly.
thing
I
is.
think, and I think the point is we don't look at, we often, I'm not gonna say all the time, we often don't look at somebody with a ton of tattoos or the gauges or whatever they've done to their body and think, oh, that's part of your culture. We think, what drugs were you taking when you did that to
Right.
yourself? And so
Yeah.
because there's no attachment to a ritual, a religion, a culture, any sort of thing like that, we just think that it's a stupid Americanized thing and you're an idiot for doing it. Like,
Yeah.
like this guy looks, again, back in the day, if you looked like this, you fell asleep too early at a slumber party, right?
Yeah,
It was,
exactly.
it wasn't like you did this on purpose. Now all of a sudden these kids and that girl on the right, they're both attractive people. You can
Yeah.
see through the tattoos.
Or
So
is the idea of beauty changing? And my mom's ideas, which were passed to me, aren't necessarily the mainstream ideas now. We've got 1 in 3 people, according to the study, that has a
right.
tattoo. So the ideas of what's beautiful have changed. It's no
Mhm.
longer cluttering up your skin. It's now, making yourself this individual that's different.
Yeah.
I
There you go. You
okay.
could. Absolutely. There you go.
Well, the Nikki Medoro Show is crowdfunded.
There you go.
If you are so inclined, you'll find us at thenikkimedoroshow.com. The Patreon link, the PayPal link, all there. And thank you for whatever you can do. And if
Yes.
that is nothing, then thank you for spending your morning with us. I'm Kim McAllister here on The Nikki Medoro Show.
And the free thing that you can always do, of course, is click that thumbs up button. So make sure you've done that and subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing as well. All right. I loved that topic. I thought that was hilarious. Okay. Now just real quickly, I'm not going to go back into the comments, but again, Kim, just quickly touching on President Biden's trip to Maui. I'm encouraged by the amount of funding that's going, but a lot of people were upset at him because of this apparent no comment thing that he made while he was still in the United States. I don't think he was in Lake Tahoe when he did this. He was somewhere else. And they were asking him about it. And I love the idea. We talked about this last week of people thinking he should have been there immediately. He would have been in the freaking way if he went immediately.
Mhm.
This was the best time for him to go. But I'm going to show you a couple of pictures. This is what greeted the president yesterday when he arrived. Of course, there's
Oh.
Trump flags. Now, again, I don't think this is a ton of people, right? I think it
It's
doesn't
like
look,
what?
yeah.
Yeah, no.
Maybe I'll go as far as saying maybe a couple dozen people were there. This is one image. Here's another image. Now, I'll read the sign for you. This is what it said. It said, Joe Biden, WTF, $75 billion for Ukraine, but only $700 to Lahaina fire victims.
No,
Now, that's
that's
to
not
begin
true.
with. And that's not true, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't particularly feel like it's fair. Now, this is their right to do. It does. I don't want to pass judgment on like the type of people, but going back to what people look like, right?
Mhm.
But these people aren't meeting with Joe Biden. These people aren't, Hawaiians that are, walking around with him like these people, right? Having the conversations. Biden said that he was meeting with everybody that wanted to meet with him yesterday. He spent more than an hour meeting with families. He attended, and he attended this one meeting. Like, look at this picture. I put it in the show's opening. But, I can't imagine what it's like to be president of the United States and have to deal with tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. I mean, it has to be draining. And then you go here and you're listening to these people's awful stories of what they've lost. You know what I mean?
That's a picture right there. That's powerful. I mean, he's affected and cares about Americans. I don't care. I don't care if you don't like his politics, okay? Or that he tried to give you an extra $700 on top of all the FEMA help that you were getting, people of
Exactly.
Maui. So if you don't like him and you're a Trumper, fine. But I'll tell you what, I have never seen Trump affected by a tragedy like this.
I've never seen,
Um,
and not politicize it.
Emotionally invested and personally affected by anything other than something that just was self-absorbed.
Yeah,
Here's a
exactly.
person putting out emotion, caring about fellow Americans, in a position to help and wants to. I'm so moved by his reaction.
hmm Now, as of Sunday, more than 1,000 federal personnel were on the ground. That includes almost 450 search and rescue teams. The administration has approved more than $8 million in assistance to almost 2,500 households. Also, almost $3 million in initial rental assistance. FEMA's made more than 50,000 meals, 20,000 gallons of water, 5,000 cots, 10,000 blankets. And like I mentioned before, most survivors of the fires have moved out of shelters to hotels or other housing. And they also think that long-term housing will be in place by this spring. So again, I mean, it did just happen. I know that we've been talking about this, and we have to keep the attention on Maui, just as we have to keep the attention on any sort of a place that has gone through a disaster.
They're still pulling people out of the rubble.
They haven't found everybody. More than 800 people.
We're at the very beginning of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently, a former Hawaii legislator, Kainela Ing, I don't know if I'm saying the name right, he had wrote, "I campaign for you. Now when I lose dozens of my friends, family, and neighbors, this." And so I went on Twitter to find this comment, and he deleted it. And he wrote, "I deleted the tweet about President Biden saying no comment when asked about the Maui fires on vacation. It appears it was based on an email by a reporter was lip reading Biden, who was inaudible and only appeared to say no comment. I generally trust reporters because false news narratives around reputable media outlets can be dangerous, but this wasn't up to standard. That said, Biden should declare a climate emergency and commit another $1 trillion a year during a second term to accelerate the clean energy transition." And the reason why I also wanted to bring that up is because the debate is tomorrow. How many Republicans do you think are going to be talking about climate change? And I know that it can be a hot button issue, but it shouldn't be. Every year it seems like it's like, oh my God, this is unprecedented temperatures and weather, everything like this. We see what we see because the climate is changing. And yet Republicans don't want to touch this issue with a 10-foot pole. And we're going to continue to see more and more of this. And if you just want to take it at a business level, insuring these areas is going to become literally impossible as more and more insurers pick up and move out of town. It's happening in California. It's happening in Florida. So if you think it's a Democrat or Republican thing, you're wrong. People are going to not be able to live in certain areas. And then we are going to see the areas that people do move to become even more expensive. You don't think it's going to happen in Hawaii as they rebuild? You don't think there's people right now that are saying, look, I know I used to live on this side of the island, but I don't want to live in the dry part of the island anymore. I'm going to move to the wet part of the island. What do you think is going to happen to the wet part of the island's housing prices? What do you think is going to happen to the insurance rates for people that want to live on the dry side of the island if insurance companies pick up and move and aren't competitive with their prices? This is it's not a political issue. It's an issue that is facing us every single day. And if not one Republican talks about it on the debate stage, I feel they have disqualified themselves from leading this country. You need to address this problem head on. Now, I know that, let's just say it's Gavin Newsom wanting to, phase out gas-powered cars isn't sitting well with people when we also have an electricity problem happening. And on that note, we are hoping to speak with Loretta Lynch tomorrow on the show in the 10 o'clock hour about all sorts of things having to do with PG&E. I understand, though, why Gavin Newsom wants to move more quickly. Because we have to move quickly. You can't use a word like crisis and then not move like it's a crisis. You can't be that dog sitting in the room on fire meme and keep saying, it's okay, we have time, right? Those images, those movies, those apocalyptic movies that we always watch, we're seeing those images on our news all the time. And we're just like, it's the new normal. This isn't normal. This isn't normal. And so we have to do something about it, and it'll be really interesting. I don't even know if they'll ask about climate change. I hope they do. I mean, you would think that they would, stronger hurricanes, warmer waters, drought conditions, environmental migration. I mean, come on. I don't know, John. John asked a great question. Do any of the GOP candidates even acknowledge climate change? No, they probably call it woke to give a crap about the environment. I don't understand it. The debate is tomorrow. And then on Thursday, Chip Franklin is supposed to join us in the 9:00 hour on 9:30.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was texting back and forth with Chip yesterday. And I was like, hey, why don't you come on with us on Thursday? We could talk about your thoughts on not only Trump also is supposed to be turning himself in Georgia, right. And we'll get Chip's take on the debate.
That's exciting.
He's always funny. I know, right? I mean, again, it just feels like Groundhog's Day with this guy. But yeah, I don't know. I'm frustrated. I don't know what I expect from the GOP debate, but I'm not setting my my expectations very high. Okay. You're a parent, Kim.
Indeed.
Our daughters are what? They're 14 years old, a couple of years away from driving. I feel like my biggest worry with driving is probably the biggest worry most parents have is I'm not going to be able to sleep until you're home, right? Because your mind goes to the most horrific thing that can ever happen. This is the most horrific thing that could ever happen. There was a teenager, a young girl, who was behind the wheel of a car. Mackenzie Shrilla, in 2022, in July of 22, she's 19 years old. She had been charged and she was just sentenced yesterday or Sunday, whatever, this week on murder charges for killing her 20-year-old boyfriend and his 19-year-old friend. And what did she do? She drove her car intentionally at 100 miles per hour into a brick wall. Now, it's a horrific story, but that's not why I bring it up. The reason I bring it up is Dominic Russo, who's the 20-year-old boyfriend. His father, 61-year-old Frank Russo, does not support sending the young girl to prison for life.
Wow.
He says it's horrible for everybody. Yeah, I lost my son. It's harder on our family, but I don't want the rest of her life ruined too. It isn't going to make me feel any better. The whole thing is just a shame. I don't know if I could be as forgiving as this guy. The teenager is called Hell on Wheels, the Hell on Wheels teen. Frank Russo says he wants her to get help. He says she's just a little kid. She effed up. She did a damn stupid thing, but now her parents are destroyed. Her family's destroyed. I wish there was a way she could get some help, some kind of treatment. He doesn't buy her claims that she doesn't remember the crash, which is what she says. He's like, I just wish she would tell us what exactly happened, and I'd be willing to reduce the sentence. She was sentenced by the judge to 15 years to life in prison.
Well, they say that holding on to anger like that, first of all, I would be so angry and devastated to lose a child that I can understand that overtaking a person, because I would think it would overtake me forever.
Ever.
But when you look at it, and it is true that holding on to that anger really only affects yourself, right?
Yeah.
You carry it with you. You go through life feeling this weight around you. And so that when you're able to forgive, move on, let go of it, maybe not move on from the death and the sorrow, but let go of the anger, that you have a weight lifted from you. Does the other person feel your anger all the time? Do they know that you're going through life carrying this big, heavy burden? They don't feel it like you feel it.
Yeah.
So it's for your own health to not be so angry. So in that case, he's really doing himself a favor, because the anger doesn't affect anyone but him.
Yeah. She read this statement, which was kind of like a letter to her deceased boyfriend of like, I miss you,
Oh
all
God.
those sorts of things. Obviously, she has some sort of mental issue. Yeah, she's 19, Sandy. Sandy says that's plenty old enough to know what you're doing. Sherry asks, how did she survive? It's not always, but it's often the case. You hear this, especially with drunk driving cases. The driver was drunk, the passengers died, the driver survived.
Yeah.
I think it, and I don't know, maybe there's, engineers or something. I also think that it's the way cars are designed to kind of protect the driver. Oftentimes, who knows if they were wearing their seatbelt? They're also teenagers, young 20 somethings. Yeah, I don't think that if you crash at 100 miles per hour without braking, she didn't brake. It was caught on video. Obviously, I think that she might not have wanted to survive, but she did. Yeah, it's just a really sad story. I just, I don't know if I could be as forgiving. I really don't.
I don't either.
I don't know if I would be able. I know exactly what you're saying, Kim.
Yeah.
Holding on to a grudge is
Mhm.
like drinking poison and expecting it to kill the other person. Like that's the kind of how the saying goes. That it's just something that's slowly eating away at you.
Right. And you
Um,
think about it all the time. If say you're angry for just someone has wronged you in some way that maybe isn't so egregious and forever, right? Someone
yeah,
at work did something horrible to you. And so now every time you see that person, you're like, oh, or you lay awake thinking at night about how awful it was and how bad it made you feel and how you would, what you could have said in the moment or all these things. All that time you're spending thinking about it,
yeah,
all that time that you're like, what could I have said in response? Or, how should I act now? Or all these things, that's be heavy weighing you down. You're wasting your time thinking about all this anger. Do you think that other person's thinking about you? They are not.
yeah,
And if they
exactly.
are, let it be their anger, right? You need to lighten your load and go on about your business with joy. So,
Tony writes an interesting question to kind of bring back what we were just talking about.
mm,
Do you think the same empathy would go to someone with a different skin color or face full of tattoos? Let's take
wow.
the face full of tattoos. Yeah, if she had a bunch of tattoos on her face, would people have less sympathy for her? I don't know if I would. Again, I'm fighting to have any empathy for her, so I don't think I would have. But I could see how it playing a role for a jury. Hell yeah. I could be like, look at this. She's obviously has issues. She's not in her right mind. Now she has 2 concurrent 15 years to life sentences. The girl's going away. And yeah, maybe I would say maybe. Grady. I'm a double drunk driver victim, both head-on collision. Wow. And Grady, I'm so sorry to say you have brain damage from the last one. Yeah. Drunk driving. Again, we were talking about Uber and Lyft and all that, robo taxis yesterday. I don't understand why people get in the car drunk, like at all. There's options for you. That's so sorry. I'm so sorry, Grady. That's awful.
Yeah, really sucks.
Yeah, and Grady says both drunks living a great life.
Ah,
That's hard. Yeah, and it's so hard. There she is, the teenager hell on wheels. I can't. Can you also imagine this? Also, Kim, what if it was your daughter?
mm.
Can you imagine? I don't. I know there's never a lot of empathy for the
She killed
parents
she killed
of
2
the
people.
person. Yeah, but
Yeah.
they're going through it. To imagine you're just sitting at home. You think your kids are just having a good time with their boyfriend or girlfriend. And then a cop knocks on your door and says that your kid killed other kids.
I can't
Oh,
even imagine. Well, and I don't want to make excuses for her, but they say your brain isn't fully formed till you're 25. We know, especially, I mean, I think all kids, but teenagers, because they, have access to cars and more dangerous things, they make these decisions that are risky and
yeah,
you know, they don't have impulse control
yeah,
necessarily. And so they do these things that are like, what are you thinking? And, most of the time it's, what are you thinking? You just did this dumb thing, but it's not something that hurts someone else.
right,
So
exactly.
this is so not normal. I think, like you said, I think there's mental health issues afoot.
Obviously, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You don't either she was suicidal or something was going on because you don't drive your car 100 miles per hour into a brick wall. Kim says,
And
as a
when,
parent, you definitely would be asking yourself how you went so wrong parenting.
or you'd be asking yourself, were there signs I didn't see?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't I send her to get her some help, find a psychiatrist? Was I just thinking this would get better on its own? Was I not paying enough attention to her about what was going on?
Yeah. Now, apparently she did, like, she had kind of a past talked, like Calvin's saying, about killing him with a car. That's why murder and not manslaughter. Yeah. She wasn't in her right mind. But again, I'm just blown away by this father's take on the whole entire thing. But also maybe he knew she was going to kind of get the stiff sentence because she killed 2 freaking people. My God, it's just awful. And then SF Tesla says, we don't permit parents to punish misbehavior in public, but sooner or later the jail has to do it for them. Yeah, I don't know her background. I don't know, but this was definitely serious enough, and it does stay with you. It really, it's awful. It's absolutely awful. I did want to throw this in because we were talking about this yesterday. They also identified that dude, that guy that shot that Cedar Glen store owner in Southern California that had the pride flag. I know there was some sort of people thinking, oh, they're protecting him. 27-year-old guy, Travis Ikaguchi. 27 years old. Just to kind of go back, you're in the prime of your freaking life, and you're going to do something like that. I don't know. I don't want to stay on these heavy kind of topics, but I did want to update that story. He reportedly shot and killed this woman for flying a pride flag, and his social media posts. I think there was a pinned post to X, Twitter, that had a LGBTQ flag flying. He's like, "This is what we do," and it was lit on fire. So it's just, it's crazy. This again, there he is. This is not normal. Look at him. I mean, I know it's just a picture. It looks like a normal dude, right? Like, what is wrong with you?
I can tell you what's wrong with him. Man, I have a huge, big, fat guess as to what's wrong with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's gay.
Oh,
no, he's gay. He's gay and has such hatred and self-loathing, and comes from a family where it's not accepted, maybe a very religious family, that he hates himself and he takes it out on other people who are accepting, who are gay, who are whatever, because he has such hatred for himself. That's my big guess, is that you don't get that angry over something or that personal over like a flag, an LGBTQ rainbow flag, really, unless it's deeply personal to you. And I think there's something of there's some self-loathing going on there that caused him to act out. This is my professional psychiatric opinion. It's about worth what everyone just paid for it. So, hey.
Exactly. But didn't they say the same thing about the Pulse nightclub shooter? I think they might have said the same thing about him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, why are you so... It does. And again, just like him, I have no, psychology degree or anything like that. Right. But it does make sense at the very least that because you're suppressing something for whatever reason, whether because your family doesn't want to accept it, your religion, fill in the blank, that when you see somebody living in their truth, living who they are, or anything that kind of hints to that, it triggers something in you, and yeah, I could see it. We'll never know, of course, because he was shot by police. Again, man, over a friggin' flag boggles my mind. It really, really does. Okay, we're going to do a few headlines. I do also want to mention how long, maybe we'll do this more towards the end of the show, but maybe we'll start with it. How long would you wait for a dinner reservation? If you made a reservation and you had it, like, I want to make a reservation for 6:00 in the evening for dinner, and then you show up for the reservation, how long would you wait before you're like, F this, that's not a reservation? Mull that over. Okay. There are people here in San Jose that are waiting up to 3 hours to eat at a new restaurant.
No.
That's
a failure at the restaurant. That's fail.
Well, it's new, but I'm gonna explain to you how it actually works. But I still, not in a million years would I wait 3 hours after I've already made a reservation. So I'll tell you what restaurant it is. I do want to go there because I love the type of food, but I ain't going there anytime soon. That's not happening. We do have some headlines with Kim. Oh, and I also want you guys to tell me, do you take any sort of public transportation? Apparently it is at risk because those bridge tolls we all hated that were supposed to be coming, they're not going to happen. But the money that was supposed to be raised over the next 5 years from these bridge tolls were going to help prop up public transportation that has taken a huge hit because of the pandemic. Now, on one hand, I understand needing to fund it. On the other hand, do people not want to fund public transportation because public transportation isn't really serving them? You guys let me know in the comments, what kind of public transportation do you take, if any? And does it actually help you? Does it reduce your commute? Or are you just honestly just taking longer to get where you're needing to go? We'll do that all after Kim's headlines.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Let's start this time with a former Trump attorney. This is John Eastman, and he is out on bond after surrendering to police as part of the 2020 election interference case in Georgia. Eastman is one of former President Trump's 18 co-defendants facing criminal charges now. Trump is expected to be booked in the same Fulton County jail on Thursday. His lawyers have already reached an agreement to pay $200,000 bond, or to have him post $200,000 bond. Tropical storm Harold's made a landfall in South Texas now with heavy rain, strong winds, and a chance for coastal flooding. More than 1 million people in that area under tropical storm warnings. And Republican presidential candidates, get ready, because here it comes. It is the debate stage they will face off on in Milwaukee Wednesday evening. 8 candidates participating in the first debate of the 2024 presidential primary, and that includes Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former Vice President Mike Pence, and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. The event, hosted by Fox News, will be without the party's frontrunner, Donald Trump.
Chicken.
The death toll in Maui from the wildfires could rise dramatically in the coming days, they think. So far, 115 people are confirmed dead. It is believed anywhere from 700 to 850 people are still missing. All destroyed single-story homes have been searched for remains in Lahaina. Recovery efforts are now shifting to multi-story structures. So that's why they think the death toll could shoot up dramatically. 4 children and 2 adults remain trapped inside a broken chairlift after cable snapped in Pakistan. 2 children have been rescued. Local media reports suggest 2 others have also been freed, but authorities have refuted those reports. The kids were traveling to school when the cable broke, and the chairlift is estimated to be dangling more than 900 feet in the air.
Oh, how scary.
Really scary. Here's a story about COVID, also scary. There's a 2-year study conducted by Washington University researchers showing that COVID is affecting the health of patients even 2 years after they got the virus. The study compared the health outcomes of more than 138,000 patients who had COVID with the 6 million who hadn't had it. They monitored the development of more than 80 health conditions, and they found those who had COVID had a greater risk of developing issues like heart failure, lung conditions, blood clots, and diabetes. So weird. You think you got it, you're over it, done, and then here it comes down the road, not over.
Not over.
Remember that recent case about the newspaper office being raided in Kansas City?
Yeah.
Well, now the police chief who oversaw that raid is alleging that a reporter impersonated the victim or lied when accessing the driving records of a local business owner. The allegations were laid out in court documents related to the August 11th raid of the Marion County Record that saw officers seize computers, personal cell phones, and other equipment. The search warrant, later withdrawn by the county attorney, said police were looking for information about how the paper obtained the drunk driving records for a local business owner. The paper's attorney says no laws were broken, that a reporter was using a public state website to verify information provided by a source.
Wow.
This police chief, I don't know. You can't do that.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, I think that it seems like a lot of, I don't know, finger pointing when in the end we'll see this person going down. Mm.
Mhm.
And lastly, a little entertainment news. Rihanna is the proud mom to a second baby now.
Yay.
Yeah, she gave birth to a baby boy August 3rd in Los Angeles. And I love that this is only really becoming news now, so that, she had a few weeks of it just being her
Yeah,
thing, right?
exactly.
The Grammy winner and ASAP Rocky are also the parents to another son named Rizza, born in 2022. Reportedly, their second son's name also starts with the letter R, but they're keeping that close to the vest for now. So
Oh, cute.
do
Cute,
what you
cute.
got to do.
I
Yeah.
like that. I mean, so you have Julia and Jacob and your Kim.
Yeah.
So did you do the J thing on purpose?
I didn't, but Julia did. Julia named Jacob. She wanted him to
Oh,
have a J name. So
that's
yeah.
cute. That's cute.
Yeah. But you don't have the same letter.
No, we
No.
have Marley and Dylan, and so we call them the Bobs, like Bob Dylan and Bob Marley.
Uh-huh.
But no, I wanted a junior for my husband. He did not want a junior, so we used my husband's middle name as my son's middle name. But yeah, I think it's cute though. I know so many people that do the whole letter thing, like all the kids do the same letter.
Yeah, I think you can carry it too far. I know they have a whole bunch of other issues, but remember was it the Duggars?
Was
And they had
that it? They had all the
the
J's. Was it J's?
I mean, how many J names can you come up with? Like
I think
at
they
some
just started
point
adding J's to names that didn't even start with a J, right? It's
they're
like,
making up their own J names. I'm like, no.
That's hilarious.
This report is crowdfunded. That means we rely on you for support. You'll find us at thenikkimedoroshow.com. The Patreon link and PayPal link are there. And thank you so much for checking it out. I'm Kim McAllister on The Nikki Medoro Show.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And thank you to Wes, who came through with a $5 super sticker, and Harry also with a $5 super sticker. You guys are great. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show, and to everybody that signs up for the Patreon. We don't really like, having to keep asking you guys every show, but we got to, because that's the name of the game. But we do. We really appreciate each and every one of you. All right. So how long would you wait in a restaurant with a reservation? So there's this new Korean barbecue restaurant that's opened up at Valley Fair. They had a soft opening already. I love Korean barbecue. I think I was just telling you guys about how I wanted Korean barbecue the other day. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Baekjong, I think is how you pronounce it. Now apparently it's big in Los Angeles. It's opened its first Bay Area location at Valley Fair. On a side note, this is how you get people to the mall. Okay, this is how you do it. You open up these restaurants that have a following. I told you guys, if you live in my neck of the woods, if you go to Valley Fair, some of these restaurants have lines down. It's not the hallway, but the mall, like just all the way down. It's insane. It is insane how much people want to visit. And so this is what malls need to be. Oh, and hold on, let me throw out Perry Joe Jim Bob. Thank you so much for your $20 super sticker. Mwah. I wouldn't, the $20 is definitely helping him out. You couldn't pay me enough to wait 3 hours though for a freaking reservation at this Baekjong Korean barbecue place. Now, apparently, you can book a reservation after September. It's already booked through next August and September. Okay. And even according to SF Gate, even guests with reservations need to wait several hours to get the table. What the hell is a reservation then?
A reservation is an appointment. If you tell me that you want me to come at 6:00, then you better have my table ready by 6:05, 6:10, or I'm going to think that, what kind of place is this?
Exactly. Okay. So
are you not organized? Some happen. Maybe some people don't clear out like you think they will. Whatever. Maybe 6:20. But after that, it becomes your time management skills and your management of the flow of your restaurant. You guys don't have it together.
Yeah.
And that's not an appointment. This is a suggestion. And that's not what I'm assuming a reservation is.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a Seinfeld joke. I think a Seinfeld episode where he talks about it. He's like holding the reservation is the important part of the whole thing. Like I need to get my table. And just to clarify, if anybody goes to Korean barbecue, this is not an all you can eat place. So I can understand if it's an all-you-can-eat place, like these people are taking forever because it's a buffet. Oh, thank you, Spencer, for the $5 super sticker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm gonna play you a little. I might get dinged for this, but let me just play it so you get an idea of this place. Okay, this is somebody that went in, was able, I guess, to go to the soft opening of this Big John Korean barbecue place at Valley Fair. So here we go.
Would you wait 4.5 hours for Korean barbecue? Yes, you heard that right. We went to Big Jung's grand opening, which is a Korean barbecue place located at Valley Fair Mall in Santa Clara, California. We knew the lines were going to be long for the grand opening, and so we decided to come at 2 o'clock to sign up our names and register for the wait list, and we didn't end up eating until 5 o'clock. So luckily we went to watch a movie in the meantime, but when we arrived, we actually had people sign up on the wait list, and they told them the wait was 4.5 hours.
No.
So we went to Big Jung before in SoCal, and actually it was one of our favorite barbecue places, and to be honest, we're not huge fans of barbecue, but we absolutely love this place just because the meat was such high quality, the service was so top-notch, our server was amazing and was always so quick. All the meat was cooked to perfection by our server, and we loved all the side dishes that it comes with as well.
So that's another thing. They cook it for you at the table, where at some Korean barbecue places, especially those all-you-can-eat places, you cook it for yourself. And that's expensive. I mean, inflation and everything. I looked, though, at their menu. This is an expensive dinner. You're dropping a couple $100.
I disagree that they had reservations. They did not have reservations. They went and put their name on the wait list.
Yes.
Granted, they did it 4 hours ahead of time, but they put their name on the waiting list.
Would you? Okay, let's even say that. Would you, if you went up to a place and you said, "Can I put myself on a wait list?" and they said, "Yeah, it's going to be a 3.5 hour long wait," what would you say?
Well, it depends. If, like them, I had plans to go see a movie and I thought, well, all right, instead of lunch, we'll do it for dinner, then I'd say, great, keep me on the waiting list. Here's my cell phone number. If you could give me a call when you're ready, or I'll check in with you in 3 hours and I'll be back. That's great.
Yeah. But if you're not at the mall and you're just at a restaurant and they're like 3 hours waiting, no way am I doing that.
Absolutely not.
I'm hungry now.
No, but if I make a reservation on Open Table, or I call you and say, hey, listen, tomorrow I'm going to bring my whole family down for a birthday dinner, and you tell me it's going to be a certain time and then you make me wait, that's different. That's a reservation that you need to honor. If you made a deal with me that you would give me a table at a certain time, then I'll be a little flexible. But you better. There's no 3 hour wait involved. I've got my whole family standing here. I've got little kids. I've got parents that are older. I can't be standing around waiting like that. No, I'm not doing that.
The senior
and it's such first world problems, right? It's
I know. Well, of course it is. Well, the senior director of culinary operations said we solidly hit 2 to 3 hour wait times right now, even with the reservation system. So I know this woman was saying she put her name on the wait list, but it could still be that way if you have a reservation. Now, it is the next opening for a reservation, according to SF Gate, isn't until October 17th. I feel like it's hype, right? I feel like it's hype. Wes says, waitlist on a newly opening restaurant. The workers probably haven't even had time to learn about how long things actually are. That's a good point. I always go long. Whenever I work the hostess station at a restaurant, someone's like, how long the wait gonna be? I'd always make it way longer, because then when it's shorter, they're like, yes, and they're happy. You make it too short and they're still waiting because they're looking at their clock, you're screwed. John says, cool. I go to Habit Burger. They give me a little device that tells me when my food is ready. That's true.
You know who does that is Cheesecake Factory in Macy's in San Francisco.
Does what? With the little buzzers?
They give you a little buzzer and they say, go shopping. Go take a look at the furniture section, which is right next door. You can wander around and, do a little shopping, and we'll buzz you when you're ready. So it's a lovely way to have people be able to shop and wait at the same time.
I just went back to the Lazy Dog that they opened, and they do it by text. They just ask you your cell phone number, and they'll just text you. Tracy, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. Yay. You are amazing. I just really feel like we get a little too hyped up with these new restaurants, right? Yeah. I mean, I want to eat at House of Prime Rib. I had to book that, and I'm taking my husband there for his birthday in November. Yeah. That's how that like I needed to book it that far ahead, because every time I try to do it at the last minute, I can't ever get a reservation. That's funny. Ricky says, I'll give you 10 minutes to prep my table for my reservation. It's known I tip well.
Right. He means business. He's in, he's out.
I love Liz. Nikki, go in the morning, put your name down for dinner. Return for dinner. That's actually that's a pretty good system there. If I want to drive to Valley Fair, which
Yeah.
you already know I don't like to do.
I think that's
John,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, I like restaurants where I can see them cook the food. Yeah, and they cook it right at your table. And the meat's really good. I looked at the menu.
Mhm.
It's expensive though. I mean, all you can eat, Korean barbecue is expensive because we're talking about meat here and we know how expensive meat is. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be going there regularly with these prices. Janice says, I like it when they text me when my table is ready. That way I don't have to stay in a certain area. Very
Yeah.
true. And again, they went to a movie, which going back to my original point about malls, that's what makes Valley Fair smart. They
Mhm.
have a bowling alley. They have a movie theater. Oh, your reservation's going to take a couple hours. Now you're going to stay in the mall. You're going to go shopping. You're going to go to the movie theater to bring them money. That's awesome. Sandy says, wait, what restaurant is this? I had to step out of my office. It is called Baekjong. I'm probably butchering the name. I apologize. But it's a new Korean barbecue place at Valley Fair Mall. So just look at Valley Fair Mall Korean barbecue restaurant. There's one in Southern California, and now there is one at Valley Fair Mall. Louise says 3-hour wait for a restaurant at the mall. No thanks.
No.
Valley Fair is a very nice mall. I am telling you this. It is really good. Katie says, we have a small group going to the House of Prime Rib this Friday. I booked it in early May. Yeah, you got to get on there if you want to get a weekend reservation at the House of Prime Rib, which I have never, ever had. I've never gone to the House of Prime Rib.
Oh, it's an experience. It's
Yeah,
an old
I've never been
San
there.
Francisco experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel like, I feel like it's just like it was in my grandparents' time.
Yeah.
Right. And so you go in and, there's a bar. You can sit in the bar and have some cocktail nuts in your cocktail. And then it's a thing. Like they roll around with these giant carts full of meat and they, give you just the right cut for you. You can order the creamed spinach and
I love creamed spinach. That's yummy.
There's a little souffle thing you can order. It's an old time San Francisco experience.
I love Radcliffe. Shots fired. Prime rib is terrible meat. No, but I will tell you this: it can be done terribly. Prime rib, if you don't cook it right, you don't season it enough, it could be not good. But the thing that I need, and I'm positive the House of Prime Rib will have it. I need fresh horseradish. I don't want the creamed horseradish. I want my sinuses to clear when I take a bite of my horseradish. Do you like horseradish?
No.
Have you ever had it?
Yeah. My husband calls me a failed German. My mom's family is of German descent, and so I'm supposed to like herring and horseradish, and I know
that's gross.
No,
no, horseradish is so good. I love it. I put such a huge dollop on my prime rib, dunk it in the jus, and I am freaking good to go. It is so yeah. I'm taking my husband there for his birthday in November. That was the soonest I was able to find one.
It's a really good event place.
Yeah,
it really is. It's a great special occasion spot.
Well, that's where we're going. So there we go.
I have a picture to show you of the little cart.
Yes,
they roll around these carts. Yeah, it's very
so
interesting.
Good.
And
I know it's a lot of meat, but
yeah.
Once in a while ain't bad. Once in a while. Now, what I won't do is take public transportation to San Francisco when we're going there. But how many of you do take public transportation? Scott Wiener is not happy. He was the one that was pushing this bridge toll hike. So if the bill passed, it would have raised tolls on 7 Bay Area bridges for 5 years by $1.50. How many of you really believe that after 5 years they were going to drop down those bridge tolls again? Anybody? No, they weren't. What they were going to do is they were probably going to try to come back to us, re-up it, because why? You're going to put public transportation at risk.
Yeah.
You can't keep raising bridge tolls on bridges we already freaking paid for and then say, oh, if you don't, then our public transportation is going to fail and that's going to hurt low-income workers the most. You know what hurts low-income workers also? Not being able to cross a friggin' bridge to get into work. I can't imagine again, and you have to cross over a bridge to get into town. I don't have to. Now I'm just surrounded by all these toll roads, but I am telling you, they are making it unaffordable to drive
They don't
in
want
this
you to.
area.
They don't want you to drive into San Francisco. They don't.
But
But
you
between
have to
taking
the way it's set
away,
up.
they've taken away all the parking spots. They've reduced the number of lanes on streets to put in these giant median strips. They've taken away lanes to have dedicated bus lanes only. They don't want you to drive. They're taking away your ability to drive. They're making it more expensive now to park, more expensive to cross the bridges. They're sending you a message.
Who takes public transportation and saves time? Like, if I was going to take, and again, also if I wanted to take public transportation, right? Some of the hours I work, if I work in San Francisco, even at KGO or KCBS, it doesn't run in the hours in which I need it. So that's a fail to right off the bat. When I did work at KGO during an hour, like if I filled in for Pat or something in the middle of the day, I would take Caltrain. So I would take my car. I would drive to downtown San Jose. I would hop on Caltrain. It would cost me $30 for the ticket. So that's $30, okay, to go, because I do basically end to end, right? I take the train and I try to get the bullet train. So at least it's sort of similar to the time I would be in my car, not counting the drive time to downtown and not counting the fact that I don't work at the Caltrain station. So then how do I get to KGO? I would rent a bike and bike from the Caltrain station over to the radio station, which would be at least another, let's say, 20 minutes. Now, I did that because I was like, I can prep in the train, I could decompress on the way home, those sorts of things. Not convenient, not quick. The reason why people ride, and I was bringing up the New York subway before, it may not be the cleanest. Yeah, you're with, all different sorts of people, but it gets you where you need to go quickly, directly, right? I mean, there is a subway that will get you at least very close to where you're going to go. If you look at your car and you look at the subway, you're like, nah, I'm taking the subway if I want to get there in any way, shape, or form in time. Jim says, I took BART from Oakland to downtown Berkeley so I could drink a beer with friends. $6, 1 hour, no drunk driving ticket. Well, that's smart. Brian says the ferry system works and it's wonderful. Our friend Kim always takes the ferries too. Heather, that we worked up in KGS, she would always take the ferry as well. It's not an option for me.
Well, it is for me, except I would have to take Smart Rail, which is a really expensive ticket.
Okay.
And it takes a while, right? All the way to from Petaluma to San Rafael. Then I'm not sure how you're supposed to get from San Rafael to the ferry terminal in Larkspur, unless I think it might be a pretty long walk, which add extra time. That's fine. And then you get on the ferry, which is a big pricey ticket, right? And then that takes extra time. I could have driven in 45 minutes, but 2.5, 3 hours later, I'm finally in San Francisco after going from train to foot to ferry to whatever. Do I want to help the environment? Yes, but I also want to get where I'm going and get it done.
Exactly. Now, Kim says public transportation would be great if it was efficient. It's not. I love the ferry, but there isn't a schedule that's conducive to people's schedules. Also, not late enough at night to go into the city. Right. Yes. Like the hours need to change. Well, again, they've set it up too much. And then there's the safety issue that Brian and many of you are bringing up, that people don't feel safe taking public transportation. So next week, I'm going to the Beyonce concert. It is at Levi's Stadium. I might take public transportation there. I'm most likely going to take public transportation because there's probably a good chance we're not staying to the end of the concert. It's in the middle of the week. My husband has to work. I have to do the show, right? So we're not staying out too late. And if we leave a little bit earlier, I could probably catch a light rail, which could take me at least close to a stop where I can hop in my car and drive the rest of the way down the freeway, avoiding all of that traffic. Yeah. But it's not, and I appreciate what Scott Wiener is trying to do, but you don't entice people out of their cars onto a public transportation system by guilting them into doing it. What you do is you make the system better. And I know that costs money, but there's just too many problems. And again, you said, Kim, they don't want you driving your car. the Bay Area is not set up for people not to drive their cars everywhere. They don't want to build housing in areas in which people work, right? So you have to drive your car into town. People work jobs. You're talking about low-income workers. The people that clean your buildings, they have their stuff. You think they want to drag that on Caltrain or Muni or BART or whatever? No, they want their car. People like to drive their car. It's just too difficult. Beth says public transportation will never be the most popular way to get to point A and to point B. Take any public team in Europe. You'll see how convenient it is and how riders should act in public. I think you mean tram or whatever. Yeah. So public transportation in other countries, in other parts of this country, way better than what it is here in the Bay Area. Calvin, excellent point. I saw somebody else pointing out earlier. Stopping fare evaders would pay for the budget that they're asking for on bridge tolls. Yeah, how about that? The problem is they need to pay human beings, right, to catch the people they're fare evading. I don't understand why it's so difficult to stop these people. I really don't. I don't understand why it's so hard to have security or somebody working to stop. Remember how much money they spent on those new turnstiles, and then people were saying, either they're not ADA friendly or they weren't stopping people anyway. I don't know why it's so difficult for us to design something that's not $1 million per unit and that actually works. Kim says San Francisco needs to take a hint from New York, but the 60 NIMBYs didn't allow BART to be as widespread as it should have been. Loud people stop progress from happening oftentimes. Lady Beatrice says the inefficiency of the public transportation system makes me wonder about monetary priorities for the government. People are supposed to be looking after that freaking money. Oh, absolutely. And also the amount of fat, right? The wasted money.
Yeah.
The number of administrators we need that are all watch each other. Eric says most of America was designed to discourage public transportation. Thank the oil companies for that. I think I saw a post about this, about what the public transportation was supposed to look like before, lobbyists took control of it so people would drive their cars. LAX says, is the traffic because of the office buildings downtown, the job where people could work at home, at least hybrid? Yeah, exactly. Right. I said, if you want to reduce traffic, what do? Let people work from home.
Yeah.
Radcliffe, thank you for the $5 sticker. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Guys. Thank you.
So
thank
nice.
You, thank you.
But remember when we were working from home and suddenly the air was more clear and the animals returned and the birds were flying and the canals were clean and like everything, just because the world was like, it took a breath.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I don't think that everybody needs to take their car. I think more people need to work from home still. I think the reason they're begging for the money is because the ridership is not returned to a high enough level, and maybe it just won't. Maybe it just won't. Heather, excellent. If I wanted to use public transportation, it would require driving to the station. Yep. Paying for parking. Yep. Then probably coming back to smash windows. Why bother? Exactly. It just doesn't make sense. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the downfall, and now apparently this has been paused. They're going to come back to us with this, but I don't know. I don't feel like raising tolls on people that aren't using public transportation is the way to go. I just don't. What do we have time for? I did want to say this. I was seeing my COVID in the arm story all over the news this morning, which was really funny. Everyone's urging you to get your COVID booster. That's coming up, I think, in October. Yeah. President Biden was saying. Did you also see this though? Yesterday, I apparently missed it, Kim. I don't know how we missed this headline. I think yesterday was Fentanyl Prevention Day or something like that.
Oh,
they're trying to broadcast ways of reducing people's overdosing on this very, very dangerous drug.
Yeah.
But apparently there's a first of its kind fentanyl antibody treatment, and they're beginning human trials. This is a drug maker founded in my hometown of San Jose. They're about to begin human testing on this antibody treatment. as fentanyl remains the leading cause of death for people ages 18 to 45.
Isn't
And the
that
cause
crazy?
of 90%. It's the cause of 90% of overdose fatalities. So this is a San Jose-based investment firm, Altamont Pharmaceutical Holdings.
Mhm.
It's developed this new antibody therapy. It's called CSX 1004. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. And it's an injection.
That's
It
a market-friendly name.
I know, right? They're going to have to come up with a better name than that. And so it provides no high and apparently prevents any type of overdose. It attacks the fentanyl in the bloodstream before it has a chance to reach the brain.
Wow.
Apparently, so whether it's injected intravenously or snorted through the nose or taken orally, once it gets into the bloodstream, the antibody is going to grab it with high affinity and prevent it from inducing its harmful effects in the brain.
So that means you can take fentanyl, but you won't get high and it will do you no good.
It'll do you no good. It won't get you high, but it also won't lead to an overdose. Right?
Also won't kill you. Right.
Right. Unlike Narcan that's given by somebody else after an overdose,
Mhm.
the antibody would be given by a doctor before someone uses fentanyl. It's shown 30 days of overdose prevention in non-human testing. So if you're at a high risk of using fentanyl, or maybe you've used it before,
Right.
you've overdosed, they'll give you this. And then if you use it again, now I don't know if that would drive me like, and I'm not making light of this at all, but if I was a drug user and I kept
Yeah.
like, how much fentanyl would you take where you're like, it's not working? It's not working. Would you have withdrawals? Like, how would that work?
Yeah. Well, in your lucid moments when you're like, I really don't want to do this drug, I really don't want to be addicted to it, you would have this shot. And then you would know there's no point in taking this drug because it will do nothing for me. I have
Right.
now removed the, the reward for taking this drug.
Mhm.
The high is not coming. So then why would you even take it?
Right. Now, Vicky asks states something interesting. They'll refuse to take it. What if you can't refuse to take it? What if it's part of like drug diversion? We've been talking about the care courts that are going to be starting up this fall. You don't want to have to go into like this prison, jail, or a institution.
Right.
You have to take this every 30 days.
That would
And
still
it gives
be
you
you
the
agree
opportunity
to it,
clean.
but you can't give someone a medication that they refuse.
But you could say you either do this or you go to jail.
Well, yeah, that's a choice.
Right, that's a choice. I
Yeah.
I never support holding
Yeah.
someone down and injecting them with anything. No,
Take
I
it.
do not.
Take it.
Do not. No. But you can dangle a pretty good carrot in front of them.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Jail, no jail.
I love our viewers. Jim says that company that has turtleneck lady vibe to it too. I hope it works and is successful. He's talking about Elizabeth Holmes with her turtleneck
Yeah.
and promising something.
Yeah.
But I will say this: if it gives people 30 days to realize, to become lucid, right? To be like,
Mhm.
okay, I don't need the drug. But then I
Right.
worry, okay, does this prevent them getting high off of any other drug? But I was mentioning this also. You are not finding pure heroin or pure cocaine or pure whatever. Everything seems to be cut with fentanyl.
Well, a lot of
Right?
the people that I have read about that maybe someone I know on Facebook or whatever has lost a family member to a drug overdose like this
Yeah.
has been young people who thought they were taking one thing and didn't
Right.
realize that it was overloaded with fentanyl. So I guess if, I don't know, if you're like a drug user in general and you took this fentanyl antibody, then you would feel more comfortable doing whatever other thing, and the overdose deaths would drop,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. That's what's
So,
killing these people is the
yeah,
fentanyl and how
right,
strong it is. Like, and I know I don't want anyone I know doing cocaine or heroin or
right,
whatever drug, but I also wouldn't want them doing that drug and fentanyl and then possibly dying. So if
right.
they still do the drug, but then I ask the question, okay, so if you, let's just say, have a heroin that's cut with fentanyl and this new antibody blocks the fentanyl, do you still get high off of the heroin? And so does that still give them some sort of fix?
Well, it must, because if this antibody only attacks the fentanyl in your system and not it depends. Is it an opioid in general attacker, or is it just targeted to attack the fentanyl? And if it's
Right.
just the fentanyl, then whatever else you take might be
Right.
able to give you the reaction you're looking for, but not the
Exactly.
fentanyl. Yeah.
Right. And so then, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, I think that if you're cutting something with fentanyl, you're probably cutting it with a lot of fentanyl, or I don't know, a lot of fentanyl. I don't know how much of the other drug there is in it, but I'm encouraged by anything. Since we obviously can't figure out a way to keep people semi sober, right? That's the problem.
Yeah.
People want to take drugs. That's it. Like they want to be high for whatever reason. Some people want to might be taking something they think is Adderall and it's cut with fentanyl.
Yeah.
Or they want to take a Percocet or a Valium or whatever, right? For whatever reason, you want to take whatever drug and it's cut with fentanyl. And now there's this tragedy on your hands.
But I mean, so that would mean though that everyone within a certain age range of being
18 to 45.
Then people would just automatically get it like a vaccine, right? And so that would mean that, people that try drugs for the first time would be saved from a death, an overdose death that they didn't see coming. But
you have to admit one that you're going to take drugs in the future so that you would get the shot to have.
I just worry, I wonder how you get this medicine to the people who need it. I mean, it seems obvious that there's a group of people in, say, San Francisco's Tenderloin. You see them sitting on the sidewalk. They're prime candidates. Take this thing, you're less likely to die because the overdose are accidental. They don't mean to do it. They don't want to die. They're addicted to drugs and, can't make the choice not to do the drugs. Okay, I get that. But it's also one of the leading causes of death of teenagers and young adults who may or may not be addicted, may just be experimenting or trying.
Drugs, exactly.
And how do we get the medicine to those people so we can prevent these deaths? I don't know if we can.
Well, I also think it's going to have to be a combination of a lot of things. I think, remember, was it the test strips? Remember there was the test strips to test your drugs inside bars so that you could figure out whether or not you were getting what you were getting or you were getting something with fentanyl in it.
Yeah.
That's what I think needs to be universal. Remember there was that bar in San Francisco. They couldn't keep them in the bathrooms. People kept taking them because people use drugs in bathrooms. And so if you empower people, right, with the knowledge of what they're taking, then maybe they'll make the right decision. On the other hand, some people are like, oh, this is the good stuff. It has fentanyl in it.
Yeah.
Because maybe they feel like they can handle it. I don't know. I think that you need to do that. I think that you bring up an excellent of experimenting for the very first time. I mean, you don't want to have sex for the first time and get pregnant. You don't want to try drugs for the first time and die.
This girl I went to high school with, she's now a woman. A year ago or so, she posted on Facebook that her niece died. Her niece family had just celebrated a birthday, her niece's birthday, and she had gone home to celebrate with her boyfriend, and the girl just turned 19. And her boyfriend brought some type of drug over to the house. And this girl was not, maybe a social drug doer, once every whatever, but wasn't a drug addict per se, according to this old friend. And she took what the boyfriend had and she died. At 19 years old, she died. Her family devastated.
Of course.
This is not someone you would have thought. And so I think sometimes people do stuff that's maybe out of character and they get unlucky and they get bad drugs. And so then does this antibody thing become like the vaccine against ovarian cancer? Or cervical cancer, rather?
Like the HPV or whatever?
Do we just give it to all teenagers and say, don't do drugs. Don't do drugs, but if you do.
Yeah, but how many parents are going to want to inject their teenager every 30 days with a shot just in case they might experiment with drugs?
But I think there are parents that realize that their kids have been experimenting with drugs. And it might be a game changer for whether you're laying awake worrying at night if your kid's going to take something bad and die before they can figure out drugs aren't for them and get on a different path.
Okay, let me ask you a question, okay? Let's just say that you don't think that your daughter or son is taking drugs, but you do think that some of their friends might be, okay? Yeah. Would you give them the shot just in case they might feel the peer pressure one of these days to possibly do drugs with them? It's the biggest, who you hang out with right, can obviously very much influence the type of person that you're with. And peer pressure is a real thing.
It's
I
true.
mean, it's difficult for anybody out there, let alone a teenager who wants to fit in. And so if
Yeah.
you found out that your kid was hanging out with somebody that experimented with drugs, would you give your kid the shot?
I feel like I might really consider it. I can't say yes or no, but it really would weigh on my mind. I think so. Yeah,
You'd give your kid the
I
shot?
would think I would definitely think about it. We'd have a discussion about it. The worry I would have is that it would somehow give some false sense of empowerment to the child that nothing bad will happen, because while
No,
they
that's
might not die of a
manipulation.
fentanyl overdose, there could be
Right.
something else in there, or they could, become so incapacitated that then they come to other harm as they're all, lolling around doped up on whatever other drug that they're taking. And
Right.
so, then they're at a party and they get attacked, or they get in a car and someone, is impaired and they die. There's other ways of, it's not just only the fentanyl overdose, but I definitely would think about it. If I had a
Yeah.
kid who was hanging around with the wrong crowd, I'm not saying no.
Yeah, again, it lasts for 30 days, which
Mhm.
just means that you're constantly, injecting your child with something. But then it reminds me of the whole argument regarding, condoms or something, or birth
Yeah.
control in general. Well, if I put my daughter on, get her an IUD, let's just say she's going to go, having sex all over the place because she feels like it's safe. I mean, I just think as parents, you try to just protect your kids as much as possible, but the decisions that they make are the decisions that they're going to make. And I've said this many times.
Mhm.
I do tell my daughter, especially because she's in high school right now, but I say it to my son as well. Do not take anything that anybody gives you.
Right.
Because Adderall, that whole thing. I have one of my best friends in Idaho. Her daughters are in high school. I mean, these kids are popping these pills because
Mm.
they think that it's going to help them study. It's going to keep them up and, focus more. Or at least that's the narrative that they tell themselves to justify taking all of this crap. And then when kids do need it for whatever reason, like they are actually prescribed Adderall, they sell it instead of taking it because they can make buku bucks off of it. This is
Wow.
what's happening in our high schools. And so you have to keep the doors of communication open. I've told my kids, I don't know if you tell your kids this, but I told my daughter, I'm like, if there is even a hint, a suspicion
Mhm.
that I think that you're taking drugs, I will drug test you that day. And
Yep.
and if you ever look at me and say, I don't want to take it, why don't you trust me? That is immediate cause for me to believe that you are
Yeah.
taking drugs. Because
And if
innocent people don't give a shit. Sorry.
and
They
if
don't
you
care.
get one positive drug test, in for the shot of fentanyl
That's
blocker we
nothing.
go.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right.
Um,
My
I don't
my
want any
my
excuses.
my mantra is this. Now I have both kids filling in the blank. I say, if you never start, and they scream, you never have to stop. That's my
Exactly.
thing. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, again, and I talk to my kids about smoking cigarettes so much because I did quit and their
Yeah.
dad still vapes, and they watched him struggle with that.
Mhm.
But again, I tell my kids, I'm like, if you try to pull this BS of why don't you trust me? How could you, search my
Yeah.
phone or drug test me? That is a guilty person talking. And I'm telling this to you right now. I was like, if you use those words with me, you are guilty.
Yeah.
And I was like, innocent people don't care about having to prove their innocence.
Right.
I would love it if I was right and you tested my ass and it came out negative and I could throw that in your face. There is no better feeling. But if you don't want that feeling, it's because your ass is guilty. And I tell them this now so they don't try to pull that BS with me later on. I was like, I'm not buying it. I was like, so don't even try it. Do not even try it. So I hope I never cross that bridge.
I know.
I
But here
really
comes high
hope.
school.
And
Ugh,
high school is so difficult.
hard.
It is really,
Mm.
really difficult. We have a couple minutes, so let's kind of vent a little bit.
Yeah.
So we
This
were a
is why we
little
were
we're a
late.
little tardy today because both of
Yeah.
our daughters are starting high school, and I don't want to get too into the personals because obviously. But here's
Yeah.
the question: if your child was just unhappy at school, as far as, I don't feel like I have my people, or I didn't get into this certain club, or there was just some sort of acceptance, right?
Yeah.
What would justify moving them to another high school? What would justify making such a big move? Because that's what I always ask. I'm like, is this worthy? Because I've said this before. I did not want to go to my high school. For 2 years, I fought it. I cried. I carried on. I misbehaved. I got suspended, right? I was a pain in the ass. Don't want to be here. I don't want to go. My friends aren't here. I hate it. 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 You know what my parents told me? Suck it up, Buttercup.
Buttercup. Yeah.
This is where you're going.
Yeah.
That's it. And so I come to it with this attitude.
Do you look back and are you glad they forced you to stick it out?
Yeah. Well, do I think that I could have still succeeded if I went to, let's just say, yes, still a private high school, but not an all-girls school? Yes.
Right.
But in hindsight, do I think that I would have, I'll even go so far as say, even the confidence in myself that I have right now, if I didn't go to that high school, as far as, there's no distractions from boys, having to deal with the interpersonal skills with other women, which is different when it's all women versus boys and girls together. Right.
Right.
No, I think that definitely it changed me in a way that is both positive, and I'm not going to say negative, but different. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we talk about mental health. We talk about how hard life is right now for kids, the social media, how that's completely, look, I didn't have social media in high school. When I left school, I was separated from all the drama and the back talking. And there was a lot of behind the back talking that I was experiencing in the school that I didn't have to deal with when I went home. The world's different now. Should that play a bigger role on whether or not you would take your kid out of that high school? What needs to happen for you to say, okay, I'll look into moving you to a different school?
On one hand, their mental health is really important. On the other hand, I don't want to be that mom, the bulldozer mom that jumps in and makes an easy path for their kid, and I'm the problem solver, right? Because then they never learn to solve their own problems. They never learn they can rise above it and get the confidence, which you just mentioned, to say, I'm capable of dealing with this. I can fix the problems. Oh, I need to be walk into school every day with confidence. Okay, got it. They never are given the opportunity to fix it. But when you see a kid struggling to make friends, to fit in, it's so hard not to want to scoop them up and love them and make it all better. It's so hard. I think that's the point where you and I both are, is you see them struggling and you see they're so sad and so feeling isolated. The one thing I can say is, if they're both feeling it, there's probably a lot of other kids feeling it.
Yes.
And so maybe it's a common thing right now.
It is. And I know that intellectually, but when it's your own kid and
they're coming home crying and they're struggling and I have no friends and no one likes me and and they're
even though that's also not true. Like, they're so absolute at this age.
Right.
It's everything. And I keep thinking that to myself. I say, at this age, if one person doesn't get along with you, then nobody gets along. Like, it's nobody likes me, even though intellectually that's not true.
Right.
But when that's all the life experience that they have, it could feel like that. Now, Kim says, I didn't want to go to the high school I went to. I wanted my parents to push for the change. They didn't. And I always wonder if I would have had a much better high school experience. I was not happy.
Oh, yeah.
That sucks.
I'm sure your parents were probably thinking, she can make friends anywhere, right? I mean, it's not one high school or another. They're all the same pretty much, unless they're academically superior.
Right.
You can make friends wherever you go, but it's hard.
And I keep saying, I can't, like you were saying, I can't clear the path of life for you. I can't make it so that everyone's going to like you at the exact same time. But what I can do is to kind of give you something else to think about. And also, and here's the other hard part about being a mom, let me just say, is when you look at your kid and you're hearing the story and you want them to reflect on their own role in the whole entire thing, which may not be 100% positive, right? It's like, well, if you're hearing the same thing, then why do you think people are thinking the same thing? Or if you're looking at this one person and you feel the same way about that person that they appear to feel about you, what are you fighting for? But then telling that to a teenager, it's, are you not on my side? Are you not seeing it my way? And it's like trying to be supportive and yet honest I think is one of the hardest things to do as a parent. You know, it's like, I don't want to be a parent where my kid is never wrong or is always in
Right.
the right, because that's not true. And
No.
they need to learn how to self-reflect
Yeah.
on their own behavior. And sometimes it's nothing that they've done wrong, but just be like, well, do you see how somebody could see it this way? Or do you
Right.
see how, you might be thinking they're thinking one thing, but how the hell do you actually know that? Right? Like, don't create a situation or a storyline that you can't even verify in reality. It sucks.
And then I think friendships are not instantaneous. It takes,
Right.
this is day 4 of high school. It takes time to meet people and find your place. My fear, though, is that my daughter is saying, she went downtown the first day of school with a bunch of kids,
Mhm.
and they are technically the stoners. And I'm like, this is not the group I want you to be with. Because I know that while she's not,
Smoking
a
weed.
stoner now, if she hangs out with the stoners,
Oh, yeah. You
the
could
vape
become
is
a
coming
stoner.
soon to a theater near you,
Absolutely.
right? So she's like, "Well, Mom, they're the nicest people. They
Oh.
accept me for who I am, and they're just really kind." So how do you argue with that? I'm like,
No,
"Yeah."
go hang out with the bitches that aren't smoking weed. Like, is that what
And
you're supposed to say?
right, but they're mean and they're petty and they're miserable. They're the Heathers, right? No offense, Heather, not you. But you know what I mean? Like, they're the mean girls. And so maybe they're not doing drugs yet.
Right.
And maybe they're the popular girls, but that doesn't mean you're going to have a great high school experience if you're,
That's
with a bunch of
interesting.
petty, shallow girls. That it's hard. The whole thing is hard. And I used to think I loved high school. And now I look at what she's going through, and you couldn't pay me to go back there.
Yeah, but you were rah-rah cheerleader in high school. Like, you liked high school. My high school was a little more mixed. And now
Yeah.
I just feel like it matters. I feel like kids nowadays are so stressed out because the minute you step on to high school, you're supposed to be like college focused, right?
Right.
You either have to be in a sport or work on your extracurriculars and start writing those essays for the scholarships. And then
Right.
there's social media, and you have to look perfect, but not too perfect. And
Right.
geez Louise, when are they just allowed to be like, you know what? I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I just want to be me. If you had to choose, let me just end it on this question. If you had to choose with your daughter, if there was only 2 groups, the stoners who are nice or the bitchy Heathers that are popular but sober, what, my friend, would you
That's
choose?
hard. Do I want her to be drugged up or bitchy? Let's see. There's a saying that says, "Show me your friends today and I'll show you yourself in 10 years."
Okay. Do
Something
you want
like
your daughter
that.
to be a bitch when she grows up, or
I also don't
a
want her
weed
to
smoker?
do drugs cut with fentanyl and dead on the side of the roadway. I have to expect that even if she's hanging out with the bitchy girls and isn't making true friends, that at least she's not going to end up at a party, incapacitated, getting attacked in a back room. I don't
Right.
know. It's so hard. I can't answer
Yeah.
the question because I
Mhm.
want her to make true friends. And yeah, Vicky, the stoners are cool too, but I also don't want her to be around drugs. I can't answer the question. I take the 5th. I plead the 5th. What about you?
Yeah,
What's your answer?
I don't know. I honestly
Yeah.
feel the same way. Although I'll say this right now, I would say that a lot of teenagers smoke weed, so it'd probably be hard to kind of find one that doesn't. But
Right.
I would want my kid to be kind. I would.
And that's
I'd
really
probably
huge
say
to me.
it's you just need to be kind, and I think that the stoners aren't going to damage somebody's mental health possibly as much as the bitchers are going to do. But who
Well,
knows?
she's hanging out with the stoners and she goes for the fentanyl shot. I'm just saying.
Everyone's on the stoner side. Everyone's like, just hang out with the stoners. At some point, it'll be fine. I don't know. I don't know if I can promote that. All right. Thank you guys so much. So tomorrow we have another. So tomorrow I had to put it in my calendar. I have like a bunch of interviews every day this week. So tomorrow we are going to be talking with 2 women who are doing they've started their own business together. We're going to be bringing them on. I'll be talking about why they do it. Also, we will, of course, be following the Republican GOP debate that's happening. We're trying to get Brian Copeland on the show.
Yeah.
Is that happening on Thursday
He's coming
as well?
on Thursday. He'll be here to talk about what he's doing. So yeah.
So we're going to have him on. We're going to have Chip on Thursday as well. So we have a lot of things coming up. And Loretta Lynch, that's who I'm forgetting. We're hoping to have Loretta Lynch on tomorrow as well. I just need to confirm that with her today. A big thank you to everybody that has donated to the show. Let's start off with Chad. Thank you so much for the $5 donation. He says, what? BART station can my buddy and I take to Oakland Coliseum? We'll be driving for Monterey. I have no idea. Radcliffe with a $5 super sticker. Tracy with a $10 super sticker. Spencer with a $5 super sticker. Perry Joe, $20 our way. Thank you guys so much. Wes
Really
with a
kind.
$5 super sticker. And Harry, you were late, but you started us off as always. Thank you for the $5 donation to the show. Please, you guys, sign up to become a monthly Patreon subscriber at thenikkimedoroshow.com. Thenikkimedoroshow.com. We'll be here right at 9 o'clock tomorrow. We promise. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You sprout like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.